I will actually go into the collective responsibility very in details, but I'm holding myself back every time you're bringing that up because there are many points there. But let me take again a step back to what you said, and let's come back to when you said when we look at growth, we have to, perspective and experience has taught you that growth for a quarter is, and growth for the long term, and why evaluating risk is very important for growth. As a ecosystem, I think innovation is constantly happening, right? um, Digital public infrastructure has become a significant part beyond this innovation and um, the tech infrastructure. The reality also is this the same infrastructure and innovation that has become a challenge, which has led to the rise of leakages, things happening because of which a lot of we hear database leaks, we hear leaks of national ID cards, we hear collusions happening in the ground. And the funniest part is, if we look at the trend of fraud, most of this is people in their mid 20s, late 20s, early 30s, so the youngsters who are experienced, experienced with technology, experienced with AI. It's fraud is no longer something that's not happening with knowledge. I think you mentioned this in the first point itself. My thought and my question here is, how do you look at the digital public infrastructure today? And the context being that today there is an exposure of that which is being used in a negative fashion, as well as there's a positive side to that where it's fueling growth. How would you look at the entire evolution of DPI, or the digital public infrastructure, in context of growth and fraud, and how do we responsibly use it?
No, digital public infrastructure, right? Now, if I remove the word digital from here, it is an infrastructure. तो चोर भी इस्तेमाल करेगा, और चोर हमेशा से हिस्ट्री में पुलिस से स्मार्ट रहा है. ऑलवेज यू टेक सम टाइम टू कैच अप टू द न्यू ट्रेंड्स इन चोरी. सो पब्लिक डिजिटल हो या कुछ भी हो, इट्स अ पब्लिक इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर. द पॉइंट इज नॉट टू पुट constraints in access to the infrastructure. Let it flow the way it is designed to flow, because the flow was never designed to put hindrances. So if you start putting checkpoints, it will deter the innovation flow. पर साथ में we need people like you, we need lot many more people, and we need people who are driving the cars also to keep looking and understanding the fraud trends, understanding what can be impacted. So it's not your problem only, it's not my problem only, it's a collective problem. अगर पॉटहोल हो रहा है, जहाँ पे भी पॉटहोल होता है, you know the reason for the pothole. Either water is accumulating, or vehicles heavier than what they are designed to are flying. So everybody who's driving a heavy vehicle on a normal road otherwise knows what the problem is. You just pass it down to the next guy behind you, right? We need to stop doing that. आज अदरवाइज जो प्रॉब्लम्स हैं, आपको तब उसके बाद इम्पैक्ट आता है जब बारिश हो गई, पॉटहोल्स हो गए, आपको भी समय लग रहा है. आप पहले जब जा रहे थे, आपने तो ये नहीं सोचा, आपने सोचा ठीक है मैं निकल जा रहा हूँ, पीछे वाला फंस रहा है. बोथ ऑफ अस आर इन बॉम्बे, राइट? एवरी अदर डे यू विल सी अ कार ब्रेकिंग डाउन ऑन द हाईवे, और पीछे करीब 5-6 किलोमीटर तक देयर विल बी अ ट्रैफिक जैम. लुक एट द ब्यूटी. नन ऑफ अस स्टॉप to help the guy move the car to the side, which will clear the flow the entire 5-6 kilometers. All of us are guilty of it. I also don't do, because उस point पे जाके ना the road is very clear. We are rushing. The rest of the people, they can go take care of themselves. This attitude for us have to change, and more so in the digital public infrastructure, because the effort required in reporting, the effort required in solving that is far lesser than me getting off from my car in the rain helping some guy. And therefore my view is the infrastructure was designed for a particular purpose, which was to flow of data, flow of information, and people to make use cases on it. It was not designed to curtail that. The people who are making use cases are equally responsible for identifying, coming together on the cases where these are also use cases, right? A fraud, a phishing, or a mule account is a use case. Somebody has made a beautiful use case. But the guy who is in the larger ecosystem also understands the reason how it can be prevented. That's what my point is.
No, I love the way you talked about public infrastructure and removing the word digital, and I think that makes it more relatable. I think, and I go back to this one thing that I think I remember sometime in our discussion you had mentioned. I think it was probably in office that चोर ऊपर चला गया है क्लाउड पे और पुलिस अभी भी ज़मीन पे है. And I think that is the way, and I love the highway example as well. So it's also about morally being able to responsibly use the public infrastructure made available, whether it's now digital. So, you've talked about collective responsibility a lot of times, and as you said, right, the way to look about it is that it can happen to me, it can happen to you, it can happen to anyone. And if we look at it that way, then probably we are in for a better ecosystem. What would your suggestions be, to lay down the fundamental principles of creating something or working towards the goal of collective responsibility? If I look at an ecosystem of a regulator, fintech founders, bankers, tech players, and also consumers, right? What will be the few ways we start, right? What will be the first stepping stones of looking at collective responsibility?
Very difficult question to answer, right? Because I'll tell you, for people who get impacted by frauds, whether your account has been used as a mule account or किसी ने आपके साथ फ्रॉड किया, 5,000 10,000 रुपये यूपीआई से चुरा लिया, व्हाट डू वी डू इफ़ यू आर वेरी पुअर? और जब आपको ये पैसे का दर्द हुआ है, वी एज अ फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशन सोसाइटी, वी डोंट लिसन टू यू. जिसके तनख्वाह है 10,000 रुपये और उसके साथ 5,000 रुपये का यूपीआई फ्रॉड हो गया है, हाउ विल दे नो व्हाट टू कंप्लेन एंड हु टू कंप्लेन? उनके अकाउंट में फ्रॉड हुआ, देयर अकाउंट हैज़ बीन यूज्ड एज अ म्यूल अकाउंट, या उसने ओटीपी अपना गलत शेयर कर दिया, जो द नॉर्मल फ्रॉड. इफ़ दे कैन दे यूज़ अ कॉल सेंटर? आई डोंट थिंक सो. कैन दे गो टू द ब्रांच एंड से कि मेरे अकाउंट में हुआ है? द फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन विल बी आपने खुद दिया था. कैन दे गो टू द अदर बैंक जहाँ से फ्रॉड आया? आंसर इज नो. नाउ फॉर पीपल वेयर अ $5,000 डज नॉट इम्पैक्ट यू, you block that account, you re-download the app and you move on. In either situations, हम करें क्या? I'm asking as a consumer, हम करें क्या? हमको पता नहीं है. If you ask as a regulator, I think there are enough forums, और TV पे ad वगैरह भी आया है. But I think the challenge comes to a tech community, young people like you, to bridge this gap. Conversations are happening even today, but in very limited forums, and such conversations have a process of creating negativity. So the way it will come together is the enablement is being given by the regulator. People are struggling to bring it to a particular system. That's where the role of tech comes in. And when I'm saying tech, I mean the entire community, whether it's banking tech or new age tech, is to come together and create a forum जहाँ पे लोग ये बता पाएँ मेरे साथ क्या गलत हुआ. Imagine this happening to a cleaning lady. Who will she talk to? In her ecosystem, she is talking, but her ecosystem where she is talking has no way of recording this for the larger thing. She wants to know what to do. My account has been debited, 1,000 रुपये चले गए. If there was a way where the ecosystem reacted quickly that this is a number to call, this number is available in Marathi as well, not only in English, she will act. But there is no enablement right now. So I'm saying the collective responsibility comes because the first way of collective responsibility, somebody should feel their pain. आपको ये पेन लगा कि यार वो पेमेंट नहीं कर पा रहा है सामने का, तो आपने एक इकोसिस्टम पूरा बनाया ना. हम में से कई लोगों को ये पेन लग रहा है, हो रहा है, बट वी लेट इट बी, बिकॉज द वे लाइफ इज, यू बिलीव व्हाट, कि उसके साथ हुआ मेरे साथ नहीं होएगा. पेमेंट में क्या होता है, उसने किया मैं भी करूँगा. दैट्स द बिग गैप दैट वी नीड टू ब्रिज. एंड इकोसिस्टम में इनेबलमेंट लाने का काम इज largely with the banks, with the banking institutions and the tech institutions to create that ecosystem. And this actually is a globally valid platform that will come out, right? Because the fraud patterns have remained the same. हमको बाहर से लोगों ने आके समझाया क्रेडिट कार्ड कैसे यूज़ करना है, तो फ्रॉड वाला भी तो साथ में ही आया ना. So similarly, instant payments happening, the fraud patterns or the misuse patterns will remain same globally. So if we build a solution, it will be applicable in multiple geographies.
I think a few product ideas can in fact come up to what you said, right? And I'll try to pick up those. So, I think one of the ways I would summarize this and I look at it is I needed to pay, so हमने payment system बनाया. Where is the system that today financial institutions can directly reach with their consumers, right? Where they can hear them, where they can reach them at all levels. And we go back to empathy. We go back to how do I understand my community better. So one of the things that comes to my mind, and I think this came in from a collective responsibility of the ecosystem to be able to lend a ear, right, to people to understand them. I'm also thinking out loud that when we talk about fraud, as you mentioned, that we don't think it will happen to us, right? I would want you to touch upon a bit more on this, and to say that as an individual, as a banker, as a fintech founder, as a even a common person just availing financial services, what should I look out for and what should I do and not do?
So I'm taking a long pause because like most people हमने सोचा नहीं है इसका जवाब क्या होना चाहिए.